But it always happens with me when these different disasters strike. The best solutions come out of those. It's always been interesting because I think one has been spending so long in writing, preparing, trying to raise money for the film that by the time one gets down, I think I'm talking about me, gets down to shooting, it's a mechanical process, and it can become kind of boring, frankly. And when something awful occurs, you suddenly are in a situation where your adrenaline is flowing, creative ideas start coming up. It also takes an incredible weight off my shoulders. I'm no longer responsible because things are out of my hands. God's interfered. This all sorts of forces are at work to destroy this. So suddenly, I'm free, and it seems to loosen up the creative juices, and off we go.
So, the last question before we go to the audience was: you had mentioned earlier about this being a compendium and including the best bits and cutting out the bits you don't like. How would you personally define the bits that you would prune over the years?
Working with the Weinstein. No, I'm a bit unfair on them because they are who they are, and other people are who they are. And the twain seldom goes together well. Quentin is a strong and better person than I will ever be. Anyway. No, I think, and you also cut out some of the, it's trying to be succinct is something I've always struggled with being, is succinct, as you've seen today. And so that's nice. I have this other ability to forget all the bad bits. It's the only reason I probably keep making films, is I can forget the bad bits and remember the good bits, and off we go, and we make another one and realizing I should remember the bad bits. But then I wouldn't be making films probably if I did.
Are you happy in the editing process?
I love the editing process because suddenly you're restricted. It's a very interesting thing I find, the whole business of creativity. When people say, if you had all the money in the world to do whatever you want to do, I wouldn't know what I wanted to do. I literally don't know when you're given a million choices because I want to do all of them, which means you're just a mess. So by having restrictions with budgets and times, one rails against it, but it does focus your attention. Now what happens in the editing room, all the possibilities of what you can put on film are now gone. You've been through that. And now you've got these pieces of the jigsaw. Can you put it together? Will it work? And that's nice. It's really enjoyable because there's only myself and the editor. So it's not the pressure of 100 people all wanting to know what to do next. So we just go in there and play. And what is always happening on every film is you discover you've got all the pieces, but they're not in the right order. And when you wrote the script, they seem to be in the right order. But when you've actually finished with whatever it is you put on film, and the actors have done what they've done, and life is intervening as it does, and everybody's participating in this thing, it's not quite as you wished it would be. And so you find that, if you pull this from here and stick it there, it works better, even though it was written to be there. And I just enjoy that process. It's great.
I call having those limitations the Gary Kurtz effect.
Is that what it was? Yes.
When they spur on...
But that's it.
When you take away a no person or...
Oh, well, that's agree. I don't want to be overly critical about number 2 and 3 of certain films. But I always thought the first version of many of those different films that go into multiple numbers is the first one. It's not always true, but it tends to be because nobody knows it's going to be a franchise yet. Nobody knows it's a success, and so you work much tighter. And all you do usually in the later versions is have rather than 2 spaceships, you have 100 spaceships, and it doesn't make it any more interesting to me. Or 10,000 orcs as opposed to 2 orcs. It's more spectacular, it's fantastic to look at, but I never find I'm involved as much as I am when things are down at a smaller level when it's just 2 guys fighting as opposed to 1 guy against the universe.
Are we supposed to fight now?
I think just to prove my point.
I think we should throw it over to our first question over here. Yeah.
Man in the darkness.
Hello.
Hello.
Mr. Gilliam. Yes.
Somewhere else.
Hello. Mr. Gilliam, I'd like to thank you for a movie that I love. It's the very first one to me. It's called The Fisher King. And I want to ask you if you have any anecdotes about that movie and why you decided to use Harry Joseph, which I now love, thanks to that movie. Anything about the making of the movie?
something. The echo is so bad in here, I didn't hear a word you said.
I was hoping you had.
Oh no, it's really bad. How do we do this? Can we bring people up to the front? I can sit on the front of the stage and we can talk. Would that work? I can't.
We moved the line a little closer.
Yeah, because it was fascinating, but totally incomprehensible.
You're quite right.
And what I will do, I will stand. To work with 4 great actors. So it was a small, condensed thing, and it was joyous because, Amanda, Mercedes, Jeff, and Robin were just spectacular. Not to mention Michael Jeter, who's no longer with us. And we just had, Michael's brilliant, and we had a ball. We just played and laughed. I think, you've heard the story about Grand Central Station, haven't you? I've said it a million times, but I'll do it. Okay. Because here's Richard Robin, who wrote the script. He's gone on to write so many great scripts, and he's directed a lot of them, more than me, I think, almost now. But he had written the script on spec, and he wrote it for himself. It was picked up by the studio, and they then got to work on it. And what happens, what is frightening about it is how a writer writes something, and it's pure, and then executives, producers, everybody gets involved because everybody wants the film to be a reality, to be made. And then they start the process of these little compromises. And little by little, when I got the script, it reached a point where, it was brilliant writing until it got to the stealing of the quote, grail. And suddenly we moved into a heist movie on roller skates. And I thought, what is this? And it just stank. It just didn't fit in with the characters or anything else. And I got hold of Richard and said, can I see your earlier scripts? And we went back to the beginning, and it was all there in the beginning. And he improved a few things, but the bulk of it was right there. And what the studio had been doing was turning it into another kind of film, which would maybe get through the system, but would be a piece of shite when it was finally put on screen. So we went back to the beginning. And because it was the first film I had done that I hadn't been involved in the writing of the script, I really felt incredibly responsible to Richard. So as the writer, he was on set every day. I said, "This is it's your movie, Rich. The only thing I can do is make a mess of it. But if I come up with an idea and you don't like it, say so, because I trust your judgment on this thing." And that's how we worked. And I think what I did with the film is turned it from what it could have been sort of a Woody Allen-ish kind of film, which is, a smaller view of the world, let's put it that way. It's not, it doesn't have the spectacular skyscrapers and things like that. It's closer. I said, it's basically a medieval tale. It's a fairy tale. So let's start thinking about the film in different ways. So Jeff Bridges' apartment was just a loft. So instead, I put it into this steel and glass razor blade building on 57th Street. It seemed to be right for the character. It was steel and glass. There was nothing warm. There was nothing soft. There were no textures. It was just hard edge and no colors, monochromatic. So we start with that, and then it started growing. The video shop, I said, well, that's like the little peasant shop in the great forest. So that's all earthy colors and small, a lot of these towers. Amanda Plummer works in this great stone fortress that Robin has gone to rescue her from. So we turn it, so the images become more fairy tale-like.